All right, everybody, welcome back to the football pandemic. Matthew's still not here, still inactive. So we have a guest on, Brendan Harris, recurring guest Brendan Harris, on to be Matthew's advocate for the Colts, and we will get into NFL draft news, NFL news that just happened within the last couple hours, team needs, anything NFL draft related as the draft starts in 3 days. So let's get right into it. So, um, happened what, like 5 6 hours ago. Matt Ryan retires, signed a 1 day contract with the Falcons. I mean, we weren't expecting anything different with the contractor that the team wise, but I'm kind of surprised he retired now. What do you guys think of that?
Well, the only thing that could have happened is he signed back with the Falcons to compete with Kirk, and
Mhm.
then he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to compete with Kirk," so he said, "I think I'll retire."
I actually did not know he retired. This is the first time
No.
hearing of it. So, I
So
mean,
this wait,
it's about time. It feels like.
yeah, it's 16 years in the league. I'd say it's about time, unless nobody wanted to. It seems like, but if anybody wanted a mentor for a young quarterback, that would have been him. But this does raise a question, the same question that probably arose when Eli Manning retired and Philip Rivers retired. Is Matt Ryan Hall of Fame worthy?
He's got a couple MVPs under his belt. We'll find out. It depends on who's in his MVP class.
Now you got me curious.
I mean, what is he, like, eighth all time? Let me look. In all time passing yards, he has one MVP, an offensive rookie of the year, offensive player of the year. I mean, he has about 63,000 yards, 381 touchdowns. So he's like up there with those. I'd say in the top 10 of both, honestly. 4 Pro Bowls and a first team All Pro. Like I mentioned, the MVPs, the Rookie of the Years, Offensive Player of the Years. I mean, in my opinion, I feel like people look down on this so often, of this, like the whole Super Bowl thing. He lost the game, but look at the defense of what they did in that game and how they collapsed in that same I guess that same lens of things, the same person point of view of things. Then also the offensive coordinator and how Kyle Shanahan, and how he reacted to that defense collapsing. I don't think it's all Matt Ryan's fault, but then in my opinion, if you're gonna put it, I know it's a different era, and I know this guy won like 4 Super Bowls in his era. He was part of a dynasty, but if you're gonna put in a guy like Troy Aikman with about a pretty close to 500, an average, 0.500 average touchdown interception ratio with about 30,000 yards in the Hall of Fame, in an era that was just on the cusp of but becoming what the era Matt Ryan played in when his prime was, and then late 90s, mid 90s to compared to the early 2000s or late 2000s, early 2010s. I don't see why not Matt Ryan shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame just because of that. I understand the Super Bowls are there, but and I know people look at that very highly because the quarterback's a team leader, or the leader of the team, the leader of the offense, or whatever. But I just don't see how Super Bowls can be a factor in this whenever the whole thing is a team game.
Brandon?
Yeah, I was trying to look at his career as a whole, and I'm someone who really cares about the awards and Hall of Fame. I know it varies sport to sport. I don't know. It's hard. I mean, he probably will because it's the NFL and everyone gets in. It feels like.
Yep.
I do,
especially if you're in broadcasting.
Yeah. I would love for him to try his hand at broadcasting or calling games. I think a lot of QBs, especially those that are coming right out of the game, not like the Tony Romo effect, but also when you've been playing in the game for so long consistently, and then you come right out of it, you still have that work ethic. You still have the knowledge of all the defenses, pretty easy to read. But just as Matt Ryan as a whole, I would have grown up watching him during my childhood, high school-ish range. I mean, he never had a 5,000-yard season.
But there's only 5 quarterbacks that have, and they're all of them except one of them are probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, honestly.
True. Just stating facts, stating stats, or they're all. I mean, there's facts, but they're also stats.
Yeah.
Never had a 5,000-yard season. Never had a 40-yard touchdown season. One really good playoff push. Should have won. I know that's the big 28-3. It's not really on him. It's more just as a team because it's a team game.
I'd say 2 playoff pushes. He had that one in, what was it, 11, 12, or 13, where they lost in the championship to the Falcon or the 49ers.
Yes.
They had another one where they were the 1 seed and lost against the Packers.
That is so. It's always up and down, but
it's tough.
Yeah.
He was never really, in my eyes, looking back, as the NFL as a whole, and also NFC, because that's where he played most of his career, never really a top 5 quarterback as a whole, or even in the conference. You could probably put him in there. He was just consistently solid. He wasn't great. There should be a big difference. He's consistently good. Had one great year, but also, Julio Jones was also incredible those few runs. I think it definitely helps when you have a all-timer. I don't know where Julio Jones would rank all-time, but someone of that caliber, to help push you above that next tier. He's probably the Hall of Fame. There's 8 players who have 60,000 passing yards or higher. Mm-hmm. That's probably going to change quickly with the new passing rules and all that fun stuff. Incredible career. Should have won a Super Bowl. He got his MVP. And no, you can't always compare it to Tom Brady because he's the GOAT. Mm-hmm. But it's extremely hard to win consistently, and getting an MVP. Kudos to him for his incredible season. Wish he could have got the Super Bowl, but it's unfortunate. But I think he goes to the Hall of Fame for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know what his draft class would be, or
I don't either. I mean, there's been
like 5 years, but people who don't make it get pushed back.
2029, but it's like there's been so many guys that have been like not in there right now, like Reggie Wayne or Torrey Holt. That, I mean, wide receivers are always like, there's pretty much 3 caliber Hall of Fame caliber wide receivers compared to 1 quarterback every year, because wide receivers is like you can have 3 or 4 on the field at one time compared to 1 quarterback. So that is completely understandable. But when you're putting whenever these guys like Reggie Wayne or Torrey Holt aren't getting in, you can only imagine how long it'll take if Matt Ryan ever gets in, how long it'll take him, because he's not. I'm saying right now he's not first ballot, but I do believe at some point, because like you said, how the NFL is putting guys in that are borderline very good, like how people say Hall of Very Good or Hall of Fame or Hall of Very Great or whatever. I think he's on that borderline of you can go either way, and he's still in one of those classes where these guys we just mentioned are easily Hall of Fame worthy. So he might take some time, but I do see him getting in at some point.
Yeah. All right. Our next bit of news, we have a trade to the Denver Broncos. Quarterback Zach Wilson. So much for an immediate impact on his team coming in. But off to Denver, where he'll likely be the starter.
I don't know.
Now that Russ is gone?
Yeah.
Backup?
Went Wilson from Wilson to Wilson, but I don't know. It depends on what they do in the draft, honestly. I mean, what pick do they have? They have pick 12, so you can only imagine the first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks. And I get to pick one of those quarterbacks in the mock draft coming up. But maybe the Vikings trade up, maybe the Broncos trade up. The Vikings are 11, so let's just say the first 3 quarterbacks are Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, not in that order. Then the Vikings take JJ McCarthy, and the Broncos take Bo Nix or whatever, or the Vikings take McCarthy or whatever is available next at pick 25 or whoever they traded with the Texans. I don't know how they're going to play with the Broncos, but it'd be interesting to see him resurrect his career there, honestly, because I mean, he never had anything going right for him. He never had an offensive line. He always had a defensive-minded coach, and of course, he had Nathaniel Hackett for the last year or 2, I believe. And he never had any solid weapons outside of Garrett Wilson. So I can only imagine, I'm not saying the Broncos are better, but they do have a little bit of a better offensive line. They have a very solid defense like the Jets had, and they have a very offensive-minded head coach in Sean Payton. And so if they're going to make him the starter, I believe he will do better than Zach Wilson did with the Jets, because he has everything going for him there, except maybe some offensive weapons. I know they have Cortland Sutton still. And I know they have they have Javonte Williams, but I mean, it just depends on what goes right there. But if everything goes right there, I can see him doing well, honestly, in some aspects. A lot better than he did in New York, at least.
Yeah, we'll see what happens this upcoming training camp in terms of Zach Wilson, but I don't expect him to be the starter. I think he's going to sit for a little bit and just learn. He, of course, did not have much of that opportunity in New York. He got about 4 snaps to sit and learn, and after that, he was thrown back in. And I think that would have been a great position for him just to sit down and learn on the sidelines during games behind Aaron Rodgers. But I can't change that now. But shall we get into the mock draft portion?
Not quite yet. Happened about 10 minutes ago, maybe. Chiefs have extended head coach Andy Reid, GM Brett Veach, and team president Mark Donovan to undisclosed contract extensions. I'd imagine, the speculations of Andy Reid retiring are out the window. I don't know how long these contract extensions are for. I mean, I'd imagine they vary person to person because of age of Andy Reid. I'm not sure how old the other two are, but I'd say 3 to 5 years is a safe bet for all 3 of them.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
I mean, it was a no-brainer. I mean, am I surprised it happened now? Yes. But am I surprised it would have happened at some point? Not at all. I mean, they've been to the championship year game or the Super Bowl every single year since Pat Mahomes became starter. Andy Reid's been that orchestrator of all of that, and it's well deserved for all 3 of those guys.
Yes. All right. Let's go ahead and throw our PFF mock draft simulator up.
I'm hoping this is worth it because I paid $12 just to do this one time because I couldn't find anything else closely related to how well PFF does their mock draft. So shout out to PFF because you're in my $13 and you're the best at what you guys do. So
and PFF hit us up and sponsor us as well.
Yeah, that too. But so we're doing 3 rounds because I mean we all agree that the first 2 rounds are where you can get. I mean the first round definitely, but the second and third round are you can get quality starting players depending on position. We have the slowest speeds we can kind of analyze and pause if we want to each pick that isn't our homer team as we explain them. Draft needs is up as high as I wouldn't say as high as possible, but very high. Care for positional value is very, I'd say, kind of low, and randomness is right on the cusp of being in the middle just to have a little fun with it. So as we enter the draft, like we mentioned earlier, Brandon Harris is going to be the Colts. Matthew Thomas's advocate for the Colts, which means if he's anything like Chris Ballard, he'll probably, me and Brandon Colmark are talking about this, he'll probably trade back to 16, 17, 18, and so on and so forth. He'll trade back for a lot of picks. Packers will probably draft a defensive end like they always do. And the Commanders, I mean, it's clearly going to draft a quarterback, but which one it really matters. So we'll figure that out in this mock draft.
All right. With the first overall pick, the Chicago Bears take.
No surprise. Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams is off the board.
So I would like to first say, I mean, the draft is 3 days away, and I have been the most excited for the offseason as a Commanders fan or a Redskins fan in my entire lifetime. We finally have something going with Adam Peters, and we have a great coach, in my opinion, a great coach and a great leader, and Dan Quinn. We have a great offensive coordinator and an offensive-minded guy, mind you, that has had success with different quarterbacks such as Patrick Mahomes and Case Keenum and Kyler Murray in college and in the NFL. And Cliff Kingsbury. So I believe that whatever they do, whatever they think is right, is what I'm going to roll with. But from what I've seen and from what I've looked at and from what I believe has a better position to impact the team, right from the get-go, be the day one starter and get in there and, make a playoff push, I believe that Drake May is the answer for the Commanders. And like I said, I'd be fine with either one, but I believe Drake May is that guy that will come in and be the Peyton. I can't say Peyton Manning. He went 3-13. Sorry. He will come in and be the Andrew Luck. Make the team a playoff contender year 1 to year 2, and have success in the playoffs for years onwards until he retires due to a bad offensive line. But my point is, I believe that Drake May is that type of person that can be put into any sort of situation, no matter how bad it is, and make it as 10 times better and enjoyable for fans and for that team going forward to make a playoff push. I guess pause it. So no surprise. Patriots take Jaden Daniels. I mean, what else were they going to do? They just traded Mac Jones. I mean, is anybody surprised by this in this room?
I am surprised for sure.
Really?
I mean, you got the new head coach there.
Yep.
They need a quarterback, obviously, and you just need that excitement of someone to get rallied behind as a company and organization. I don't know if it's going to be Jaden Daniels is going to be the answer. He's Lamar-esque kind of, which is crazy that Patriots had 2 chances to get him 5 years ago, whatever, and they didn't choose to pick him. If I was the Patriots, I would personally get the highest rated wide receiver of all time and then go sign a free agent quarterback like a Brissett.
They did get Brissett. I just realized that. Remember that.
Like he's not the answer, but
he's a quality backup.
Quality starter. Patriots last year, if their quarterback was even remotely competent or their kicker was remotely competent, they're a playoff team. They had one of the best defense in the league. They had a crazy run where they held opponents to in 6 games like 40 points and were 0-5 in those games or whatever. I think if just a reliable quarterback, they'll be fine. Even without Bill Belichick, it'll be different with their defense. Jaden Daniels is probably the right pick, but also it wouldn't be the Patriot way unless you didn't trade back.
True.
But also the Jets aren't there close to them to screw them over, so they don't really care.
What about you, Brandon? Colmark, what do you think about this one?
I like the pick. It's a big need of theirs. I want to see a bit more competition in the quarterback room. I am personally not a fan of if you draft a guy early, you have to play them right away. Obviously, I own the Green Bay Packers, and that has never been our way. So Brett Favre sat after we traded for him. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers. And I get Brissett is not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he still understands this game at a high level. And so just because you take a guy at pick 3 overall does not mean you should start him day 1. He should have to go in and honestly earn his spot. And if he's not better than Brissett, sorry, Daniels, you're sitting.
All right.
Especially one last thing, especially if anyone learned anything from last year of the year of the backup, get multiple quarterbacks. There's 17 games. It's a hard physical game. You're going to get hurt as the quarterback. You get hit more often than anyone else, or as often, and your hits typically are worse because you're not as strong as everyone else, or however you want to phrase that. Like, get a backup quarterback. If Brissett starts, great. Jaden Daniels can come in, week 6 or so, week 8, whatever the injury happens, and then take over. There's no need to rush it. I want a quarterback, personally, to play for me for 15 years, like a Peyton Manning, versus an Andrew Luck where you play for 7-8 years and retire.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. So, I mean, we can all imagine, unless there's some sort of data and data that goes into the randomness, scale or whatever we picked on this before we started, that we can all imagine what pick number 4 would be.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Probably so. Yeah. Martin, no surprise. And I'd be honest, I'm going to say that besides pick 2 and 3, they could flip flop. Nobody knows. Adam Peters has not said a thing, any hints, nothing to, what they're going to pick, which is great because, other GMs we've had in the past, the Commanders, or even other GMs any team has had, have been like, we've looked at this guy and they've kind of given hints. Adam Peters has done none of that. So if you pick 1 and 4, I can imagine if you're a betting man, you can easily put in pick 1 as Caleb Williams and pick 4 as Marvin Harrison Jr. unless there's a trade. And these two can go very much either way. But if it goes like this, and I believe, like what I think the Commanders should do, and Drake May, and then Daniels at 3, obviously, this is a very solid betting line for you to pick 1 and 4, and then everything else after that, pick 5 through 32 is all game because you do not know what's going to come out of these.
Now let's go through these next couple of picks and see what's going to happen.
Oh, sorry. Chargers. Interesting.
It actually went quick. Okay, so it went faster than I thought. So, yeah, Chargers went Romeo Odunze. Malik Neighbors went to the Giants, and Brock Bowers went to the Titans. I would say I'm kind of surprised that the Giants actually chose a wide receiver out of here instead of a tight end. I know Darren Waller didn't do that well last year, and Brock Bowers is one of those tight ends you cannot you can't miss, you can't skip out on if he's there basically at that pick. I'm actually very surprised that the Chargers went over Neighbors or went Odunze over Neighbors. I feel like Neighbors is way better. I mean, Harrison Jr. is clearly number 1. Neighbors is clearly number 2, and then Odunze is clearly number 3. And so that surprises me a little bit. So these 3 picks, 5, 6, and 7, are very surprising to me. But the Chargers, they needed wide receiver. Because it just traded Keenan Allen and they cut Mike Williams. So no surprise at the position, but a little bit of surprise at the player for me. Neighbors, it'll be. I don't know how that'll go with Daniel Jones at quarterback, but I mean, I'm not mad at the pick if I were Giants fans. And that Brock Powers, you can never be mad at a tight end of his specimen for any team.
All right, let's do the next 5 picks, Josh.
All right, next 5. Let's go and review 8 through 13 or 8 through Actually, we'll do 8 through 14 because then the Colts are at 15, so we can pause, review, and then let Brandon pick for the Colts after that.
Wow, so many tackles were just taken. Oh my gosh.
Let me look if I can pause this real quick so he doesn't. Okay, there's no timer on this, I don't believe. So picks 8 through 14. Tackle, quarterback, cornerback, tackle. Like you said, 5 of these last 7 picks are tackles. And Joe Alt is a perennial tackle, in my opinion. He is going to fit well with that, in the offense of the Falcons, next to Jake Matthews on the other side. Fashanu, I think it's a great pick by the Bears. I mean, they just got their franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. They have 3 solid receivers, or 2 solid receivers. Sorry, they did just go of Mooney to the Falcons, who is now on the with Kirk Cousins, and Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, and then Cole Kmet. So no surprise, they're bolstering their offensive line for the future. I really feel honestly that Bears, if they actually pick a tackle, whether it's Alt, Fuega, or Fashanu, and then Caleb Williams at 1, that you have as a Bears fan, you should be very, very happy for your future, honestly, in my opinion. And then Fuaga, no surprise for the Jets there. They had a terrible offensive line last year. Probably the reason Aaron Rodgers was hurt for the year. McCarthy, like we mentioned earlier, I thought they would trade up for him because they felt the need to, but they found him at 11 in our mock draft. And I guess it works. And then the last 3, Arnold, Patanu, and Latham, I don't really have much knowledge of. So you guys can, if you have anything you can say about that, even the last 6 picks in general, you can talk about it.
I mean, all of these tackles are very good. I'm not gonna understate any of them. This is kind of the year of our tackles. If you're going to get tackles, you need to take them high and you need to take them early. Otherwise, they're not really worth your time.
Yeah.
And so our tackle market significantly shrunk with all of these picks. JJ McCarthy to Minnesota. I think that's really good. I think JJ McCarthy is a very good quarterback who's going to serve well in a Shanahan style offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised, I know this in the simulation, that the Vikings aren't desperate to trade up to, let's say, the Chargers.
One of these 3, yeah.
Because there's multiple teams, like, Vikings need a quarterback, Broncos need a quarterback, Raiders need a quarterback, Saints need a quarterback. Not one of them in this simulation traded up or put pressure on the teams above them to trade to get a pick. And maybe they'll find someone else later on, but also as an organization, you can always just, even if you get a quarterback early, it looks better from the organization. Like, hey, we are trying to boost our team. We are taking the chance on a quarterback in the first round. Because it is hit and miss. It's like, I forget the success rate of a first round quarterback, but it's not very good.
Yeah.
But also it's like, hey, not everyone's going to change an organization around day 1. Those are pretty rare. Typically, the organization has already built something remotely solid, and then they need to come in and step in and take over.
See, I agree with you in some aspect, but I disagree in other aspects. I don't believe right now the Saints or the Raiders should be focusing on quarterback. I can see it, later round, second and third round to develop, but the Saints have Derek Carr. I know he's not very old, but he's not very young either, but they have him for a couple of years where they can, focus on a quarterback next year or even in the second or third round. And the Raiders, I know that it's clearly not the answer. I know that. But Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, especially Minshew, is a very solid bridge quarterback to next year or second or third round if maybe Bo Nix falls or Michael Penix falls or anything like that. So I agree with you in some aspect, but I feel like positionally wise, I'm not sure, but I don't believe these picks should have been quarterback. Is what I'm saying.
I think for Saints at least, especially looking like the Raiders, sure, that's a super tough division, incredibly tough conference.
Yeah.
If I'm the Saints, though, I definitely want to get a quarterback. You have the weakest division ever. A guarantee, okay, Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. That's the flashy.
Baker Mayfield's still there.
Baker Mayfield's still there. But also super weak. Saints defense is solid still. You've got playmakers on the wide receiver, and you got a solid running back still. Derek Carr is not old, but he doesn't get you over the hump. He is he's had an up and down career. I would want someone now, let them sit similar to the Packers, get a quarterback, let them sit a full year, and then get rid of Derek Carr for cheap or some picks, and then start the year 2 quarterback in a super weak division that, hey, Falcons, Kirk Cousins going to get older. Sorry. Panthers, they're a disaster. They're not going anywhere. It's just the Saints and the Bucks are going to be the competition in like 2 years.
Yeah,
that's what I would do that.
Hey, Josh, on this, let's see what the trade options are for the Indianapolis Colts. People trying to trade up.
Okay, yeah.
Who's
Jaguars,
trading with me?
Jaguars? Wait. So it only offers. I'm confused. Select a team to trade with. Oh, team's interested. Okay, so the Eagles want to trade with you. The Jaguars want to trade with you, which is pick 17. So we're not far off with our pick 15, 16, or pick 16, 17, 18, 19, etc. trade. The Ravens want to trade with you. And I don't want to click on it. I don't know if that'll accept the trade, so I'm not going to do that. I don't believe it will, but I'm not going to risk anything. Okay. So we don't have to restart our draft. Pick 33 for the Panthers and pick 38 from the Titans.
The Jaguars one's interesting, but I don't know if Chris Ballard, or am I speaking as Chris Ballard?
You are.
Matt.
I'm Chris Ballard. Thomas. I'm speaking for Matthew, who's speaking for Chris Ballard. Got it. No one almost ever trades within the division, so I don't think they would trade back unless the Jaguars offered them something like incredible. I'll keep it simple. I know the 2 biggest needs, it says here as well. Wide receiver. Colts need help on the outside. They got to run a young wide receiver or a quarterback. And also the counter position to that is I need good defensive backs to stop these incredible wide receivers. I'm looking at some draft boards, the people that I follow. The Iowa cornerback Cooper DeJean. I don't know how to say his last name.
DeJean, yeah. Or I really don't know them.
DeJean.
Yeah. I think it's DeJean. I know he is a very popular pick around this time frame. It fits what the Colts need. But it is an offensive league. And I think, as Chris Ballard, I am drafting a wide receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU.
All right.
I think he fits a lot of the needs of what the Colts like to do with Richardson. And once he gets back, he's just a playmaker. He's a big target. He's a big guy. I think he'll fit well as a number 2 across Pittman.
Hey, Josh, pause it on the Eagles.
Okay.
All right. I want to offer a trade with the Eagles.
All right.
So 22 for 25. And then a 2025 third.
Okay. Offer it?
Yep.
Boom.
All right. The Packers are on the clock, and we will be taking Cooper DeJean.
All right. Final answer.
Final answer.
All right. I was actually about to do the same thing. Not draft him, but I was actually about to trade for their pick.
Well, tell us what you're doing, Josh.
I'm wanting to trade, and I believe. Look, we have the draft capital for this. We're drafting a quarterback at pick 2, pick 36, pick 48, 67, and 78. They're all in the second and third rounds. I have no idea because I clearly don't know the answer. Nobody knows the answer for what the Commanders are doing with quarterback or at number 2 because Adam Peters didn't say anything. I don't know what they're doing at pick 36, 40, 67, or 78, where you can get quality starters. And I do not, in my mind, if I'm the GM, if I'm Adam Peters, if I'm Dan Quinn, I do not want another offensive tackle or offensive lineman, more respectively an offensive tackle, just because we are terrible in that position. And we signed some quality starters in the interior this offseason, past couple months. I do not want an offensive tackle getting off the board before I can take one at 36. So I'm going to offer my extra second round pick we received from the Bears for Montez Sweat. Our third round pick we received from the Seahawks for Sam Howell, and then a fourth round pick next year. And I'm offering that to the Vikings for their 23rd overall pick that they traded with, I think Cleveland, then Houston, or Cleveland traded to Houston for Deshaun Watson, and then Houston traded to Minnesota for a bunch of picks. So this pick's going all around, and I'm hoping that the Vikings accept it.
That's offering a lot for just to trade up. I don't know if I would have done the 4th round pick for next year.
I don't know. I just feel like I needed to get it done. So it's one of those things where like we're not playing the 4th round next year anyway. So that's all fair game. Honestly, I could have offered the 5th, 6th, and 7th also. So I'm just waiting for it. I don't know. I got the pick. I mean, accepted the offer. I'm just kind of waiting to draft. So I don't know if I'm hoping I don't have to refresh the screen and we have to do this all over again. That would really suck. I don't even know who's available. So I'll wait a couple minutes, wait a minute or so, and see what happens.
While we wait, I know a team that I like and I follow along. Another draft pick isn't happened yet, but this certain player, was a big part of this team's regular season success and was less so of their playoff run. There's another Brandon, not on this call, Brandon Ayuk, that has made some waves about his frustration and lack of targets in the playoffs and, more importantly, the Super Bowl. And now he has stated, on his Instagram or whatever, that to expect big things changing during the draft night for him and the Niners organization. Do you think someone trades for Brandon Ayuk for picks?
I think so. I do. I'm going to refresh. I'm hoping it doesn't, mess everything up. And if it does, then I'd imagine it probably goes in the same order at some point, based off of need. So I'm hoping it doesn't do anything wrong, but
we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Great. All right. So we'll just do the first 2 rounds just because we don't have, a lot of time to do that. And we'll make it a little bit faster because we're going to review mostly every pick anyway, and bump this up to right there.
Select the teams.
Yeah. And there you go. All right. So same thing as last time. They take Caleb Williams. I'm taking Drake May. I mean, I've already explained my answer. We'll just kind of go down the board. Pretty much the same thing that happened last. Ooh, okay. Different.
Little change there.
Giants took JJ McCarthy.
These 3 are pretty different right here, actually. So I'm actually surprised about McCarthy. I know there's frustration between the organization and Daniel Jones, more so the organization side that they're not sold on him. But when you have a contract that big on a quarterback, I know the Russell Wilson's contract is something similar, like, guaranteed wise, how much years they have on him. But I feel like you build around Daniel Jones and see what he can do before you actually give up on him after 2 years of a new contract. Malik Neighbors, I believe, actually is the right pick for the Chargers instead of Odunze. So I no complaints there. These 5 picks or 4 picks are the exact same as last time. And then Odunze went to the Titans, which I'm not surprised about either because you got Burks, Ridley, and now Odunze. And if Will Levis can actually be a quality starter, I believe that might actually work.
All right. Let's resume all the way to the Colts.
It's the same thing. Dallas Turner's different for the Bears. Actually, no, I'm not mad at this either. If you go offensive tackle, you're set for the future. But if you get an edge and to pair next to Montez Sweat, that's a pretty nice pick also. So either way, I don't believe and Dallas Turner is probably the top edge in the draft, in my opinion. And either way, you're getting a very solid player. So I don't think Bears fans can be complaining about this draft at all. And so no complaints if I were a Bears fan at all. Quinyon Mitchell is a little bit different. for the Jets. Who they picked the first time? They picked Fuenga, I believe, tackle. So I would have gone a tackle. I still would have gone Fuenga if I were the Jets. But I mean, this is all computerized stuff. So Vikings, Brock Powers. I mean, he was eventually going to get picked up at some point, and no surprise. Actually, that is a surprise. I forgot they had T.J. Hawkins. That is actually a big surprise that the Vikings, in my opinion, took
They're
Bowers
going power duo
over
power
any other
tight end.
position because I just don't know. I feel like T.J. Hawkins. Like I don't even know what who's their quarterback now? Sam Darnold. Right now, it's Sam Darnold. I don't know how that's going to work with those two tight ends. So I don't like that pick for the Vikings, especially with the player talent that Brock Bowers has. Pachuno, I'm not surprised that they went tackle. It was either quarterback or tackle for me, honestly, if the Broncos. And then Arnold is actually in the same exact spot, right?
Yep.
I believe so, yeah.
And then the Saints take take another tackle. So Colts are back on the board, and you wanted unless you want anybody different, you want Thomas still, right?
Yeah, I think they have. I mean, he just checks all the boxes of what you're looking for in a receiver, and he gives the Colts a deep threat, which is one of the things that they're lacking. I think he checks the boxes for it.
Verse actually, I don't think we reviewed any of these picks honestly because we traded. Well, actually, that's a surprise right there. Oh, I thought that was Charter, the Steelers. So Fuenga, Verse, Jared Verse, another solid edge, went to the Seahawks. They were terrible on defense last year. I actually really like this pick for them. Fuenga went to the Jaguars. Sorry, not opposed to this pick either. Honestly, I mean that the offense for the Jaguars wasn't the same as it was in prior years with Trevor Lawrence, and it's going to be a very good pickup for them. I'm surprised he fell this far, honestly, but Latham, I mean they lost a couple tackles in the offseason. I'm not surprised they pick up a tackle. I'm not sure what I think of Bo Nix, the Rams. You guys can speak on that. I know of Bo Nix, but I'm not sure about the Rams drafting. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they now have Stafford, Garoppolo, and now Bo Nix.
I don't know how many years Stafford has left. So if the computer of the PFF knows something we don't, and this is Stafford's last year, then Bo Nix is clearly the right answer. But I believe they lost a lot. They lost Aaron Donald. And they lost a lot of other key players in the offseason that they could have replaced in the draft other than a quarterback for the future. And I understand that, they have other rounds to do that, but I believe that Stafford has a couple more solid years in him, especially how he played last year and the year before, or the other year before. And one of these years he was injured for a lot of it and he didn't play that well, but 2 of these 3 years he's played very well and very solid. And I believe he has a little bit of time left before retiring at the end of this offseason.
How old is Matt Ryan?
Matt Stafford.
Stafford, sorry.
Yeah, Matt Ryan just retired. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but Stafford is 36, so I'd say 3 years left, honestly.
3 years, man.
I don't know. I mean,
tricky with quarterbacks. I know he played pretty solid last year, but once it goes for the quarterbacks, you're jumping off a cliff basically, and it's better, especially as a player. You want to retire 2 years too early than 1 year too late.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I don't want to retire at the highest I can late in my career versus, he plays, let's say 4 years and he just looks awful and people are going to have recency bias and they're going to forget
Matt Ryan, Cam Newton. I mean, Cam Newton.
Yeah, like a lot of players
wasn't great, but he had good years.
Phillip Rivers, the Colts. Recency bias didn't look good, but those Chargers teams were electric. And
a recency bias no one talks about is Peyton Manning because his dead corpse was limped across the finish line by a defense.
They did win the Super Bowl, but I exactly see what you're saying, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then it's hard for telling these people, these extreme athletes that, hey, you need to hang it up, but also because they're extremely competitive. But
nobody's Tom Brady either. Yeah.
True. No one's Tom Brady. He's an outlier. That's why he's the GOAT. And I hate seeing these quarterbacks, especially the people that I grew up watching, hit that part of the career and they try and do it one more year and that they should hang it up, unfortunately. So I don't know if 36 is extremely old for a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, extremely old quarterback. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'd be hesitant about any quarterback that's 40 years old or hit in that
I can
ballpark.
see that, yeah.
All right, Josh, let's.
You want to risk trading up again, or do you want just in case something happens, or you want
We'll we'll still trade with the Eagles.
to? All right. Byron Murphy was drafted at D line.
So
Very solid player.
20
I know they just
22
lost Christian Wilkins. So
22, 25, and a
and
25-3.
oh, okay, it worked. All right, you want DeJohn still?
Yeah, I'll take Cooper DeJean.
All right, I'm not going to risk trading up because obviously it worked trading up once. I don't know what happens the second time, so we'll go through the first round, review these picks, and then start the second round, or restart it, I guess, or again. What is that noise?
That's my dog drinking water out of his bowl.
Okay. I have no idea, honestly. I'm not a big college guy. I know who Nate Wiggins is. I know who Xavier Worthy is, and I know who Dodoni Mitchell is. And Kool-Aid, I know who that is. So all these other guys, you guys are going to have to speak more so on if you know about them enough, because I do not know anything about these other guys.
I don't know a ton about them. Kool-Aid McKinstry is solid.
Putting him. They just lost Snead too to the Titans, so great pickup for the Chiefs.
My issue with that pick is, unless they do something else in the free offseason, Chiefs desperately need a wide receiver. Travis Kelce, another aging player.
Yeah.
Only has probably a couple more
Marquise
years.
Brown, so I can see what you're saying, but Marquise Brown is also solid too.
But not a number one receiver. Marquise Brown is a number two. They need a number one because Kelce's incredible, top 5 tight end of all time. But you need a number one receiver for Patrick Mahomes. You need someone young to get that development now while you still can. I know Marquise Brown is incredible, but also you need weapons on offense. It can't always be Patrick Mahomes. He needs help.
Yeah, I think the other thing to point out in this section, pick 24, the Dallas Cowboys taking a tackle. That's a desperate need of theirs right now. They just sent their tackle into free agency, and he signed with New York Jets. And so very smart of them to pick up a tackle. All right, let's go to round 2.
Before we go to round 2, actually, maybe we can see this in a better image later. But what is each of yours, besides our picks, Colts, Packers, Commanders, what is your favorite pick of this, a favorite pick and surprise pick based off this mock draft of round 1 so far? I really think my surprise, I talked about this earlier, but Bo Nix is really a surprise to me for the Rams, just because I'm not sure how many good years Matt Stafford has left. He might even do great next year, but I just believe there was more of a need at different positions like defensive line or like tackle or even, linebacker. They just lost Bobby Wagner. Actually, the Seahawks had him last year. So different players, I believe, had a better need. And my favorite pickup, honestly, it was Joe Alt for the Falcons. I mean, if you're putting this guy on Jake Matthews, who was aging, but he's a very solid starter still, and then Joe Alt on the other side, you're building cornerstones for an aging Kirk Cousins to very much succeed in that offense with that offensive system that who just got Raheem Morris is about to put into play.
Yeah, I think the surprise pick here was Brock Bowers at pick 11.
Yeah,
going to Minnesota with TJ Hawkinson there. Obviously needs still at quarterback. Obviously still needs on
what's crazy
offensive
though is
line.
I don't know why, but I mean, the computer, the PFF's tight end is their second biggest need, which I don't see. I really don't.
I mean, Hawkinson's been hurt consistently.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just trying to fill that gap, and also, hey, if I'm coming into the league, I want to learn from one of the best players at my position, and TJ Hawkinson is incredible. And so he's probably not the worst player to learn about the position and learn about NFL schemes and how to get open. And who knows, maybe the double tight end set with, because who knows if Jefferson's going to be there still without Kirk Cousins, what his dilemma could be with the season coming up.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I mean, yeah, you're right. Hawkinson is injured, but he's still, when he's healthy, he's a top 10 end in the league. It just matters when he's healthy. So I can see that. Yeah. What about you, Brandon Harris? Surprise pick and then favorite. outside of the Colts or Commanders or Packers?
I mean, right. I think the Vikings one's weird. I think Brock
Which one?
Bowers, the
Latu
tight
or
end, Brock
Powers?
Bowers,
Okay.
he should be a hot commodity for a
Mhm.
number of teams that need a tight end or another weapon. Honestly, I wouldn't have hated if the Bears traded down or traded
Yeah,
up even
I
and
I
grabbed
wouldn't say
him,
down,
because
but yeah, I can.
give Caleb Williams another weapon. Probably my favorites or just most excited about is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah,
Another player
he's
where, look, if I'm the Chargers who just lost Mike Williams, or was it Mike Williams or Keenan Allen they lost?
both of them.
Both of them. Okay, even better. Double my point then. I want a highly rated wide receiver, and what more of a splashy entrance to the NFL for their new head coach than to go get, I think he is the top rated wide receiver of all time. I'm excited for him. I don't necessarily love being in the Cardinal system, but
Mm-hmm.
the Kyler Murray magic is always fun. It's exciting for those first 10 weeks, before all the hits pile up on the year. Who knows? It could be their next layer legend.
Yeah, I can see that. All right,
All right,
on to
Josh.
round two. So Brandon has one pick, Colts have one, I believe, and I have two. So this will be interesting. Before we start, Patriots who I wanted. Peyton Wilson went to the Panthers. Not sure about him. I really wanted.
That's our
Jordan.
first linebacker off the board.
Is it really? It is. Yeah. I mean, that might be a first in NFL history where a linebacker is not taken. I wanted the Patriots took Jordan Morgan. I really wanted him at tackle, and then Jerzon Newton, defensive line from Illinois. I mean, being in Illinois or using, I no idea who that is, and I don't even, I guess I don't pay attention to college football, but take off defensive. All right, so I mean, I don't know any of these guys, so that's really what really is struggling to me, honestly, because I don't, like I said, I don't pay attention to college football, so I can't really speak into any existence of how good these guys are. Which I'm really glad now that I'm thinking about it that we're doing 2 rounds instead of 3, because I have no idea. I'm gonna do what I wanted to do earlier. I wanted to draft Roy Jordan Morgan, who I would have drafted if the draft actually loaded and I was able to trade with the Vikings at 23 for a couple picks. But I'm gonna draft. I guess I'm just gonna have to draft the highest rated tackle on the board. Really, I mean that's all that comes down to. And then once again, no idea who any of these. Actually, I do know who Xavier Legette is. I've heard of him. So other than that, I mean, they just went two wide receivers in a row. I think the computer knows what the Chargers need to do aside from running back. So I mean, once again, like I said, don't know who any of these guys are. Just going to go based off rank, but I do know that we just lost Kendall Fuller, who was a pretty solid starter for us last year to the Dolphins. And having a very solid defensive-minded coach in Dan Quinn, and even a former and a new defensive backs coach and defensive coordinator, I know that they're going to have a more strict mindset based off Dan Quinn's what other people have said about Dan Quinn. So drafting a cornerback and having that secondary bolstered for our next year is something that I'm really looking forward to. And so I'm just going to once again draft the highest one on the board in this Rakestraw Jr.
All right. Packers have 2 picks remaining in this round. This is our pick from the New York Jets for Aaron Rodgers. Josh, let me see the available linebackers.
Ooh. I do know one of these names, and we just signed linebackers, so I'm not going to take him now, but.
And let me see the available running backs. Scroll down in the running backs. All right, go back to the linebackers. We're going to take Edgerrin Cooper.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, Matthew, whichever one you want to say.
Yeah, Matthew as Chris Ballard, love it. I think, what are the available defensive backs?
Quarterback or safety?
Cornerback. Yeah, cornerback.
TJ Tampa's not a bad option here.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely need to get one of these guys, or depending on how it shakes out, if they wanted to trade up for someone else too.
Ooh. I just realized. I'll tell you after you pick, but
what are the available wide receivers? I know this is going to sound weird.
Troy Franklin, Keon Coleman actually is surprisingly still here, and then Roman Wilson, Polk, and Pearsall. So I know the top two at least. By the way, Brendan, one of our viewers, he followed us recently on Twitter. He said that, he was asking what Packers podcast to listen to tomorrow. I dropped ours. We're live streaming now. And he said Cooper DeShawn was a nice pick. So wonder if our followers really like your pick.
Excellent.
He's good. This is going to be a little weird, but I think the Colts, Chris Ballard, double up on wide receivers. And I think they get Ricky Pearsall from Florida. Yeah.
All right.
Another wide receiver who, similar to the previous one, checks all the boxes, and you're taking two swings at a wide receiver to help with your young quarterback, and hopefully one of them develops a solid chemistry. And wide receivers get hurt all the time. Another good player. I'm not saying the Colts don't have good wide receivers, but also I want weapons on offense from a young wide receiver.
So what we missed whenever we were going over the Colts pick, I just realized this. Michael Penix Jr. was drafted by the Saints. So we talked about it in our first draft before everything got glitched out and we had to reset. But the Saints got their quarterback.
That's a good pick. He's solid.
That is a solid pickup. And they got him in the second round at pick 45, like mid-draft, mid-second round is a very solid pickup. And then the next name that I really know very well, Keon Coleman went to the Eagles along with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. As a Commanders fan, I hate to see that because that just means that the Eagles are going to get better. Well, we're kind of, based off past history, I don't know what Dan Quinn is going to do. It seems like Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are doing very solid work, but we're just, stagnant or regressing every single year. So to see another team in our division get better is really, really heartbreaking. But I have hope for the Commanders this year, but really sucks to see that the Eagles in this universe is getting better at the offensive position.
Hey, Josh, really quick, don't resume. The Packers want to trade with the Steelers in the second round for pick 51. We want to trade 91, 219, and 255.
All right. Is that it? This 51?
Just trade will not be accepted.
Right here.
Wipe the Packers and do 88 and 126.
This will not be accepted.
And
will be accepted.
And 219 and 255. And 169.
This is a lot.
And 202.
Whatever it takes.
Oh, if we had 245 in there, it goes.
Yeah, that was the deciding factor.
All right. What about just 88 and 91?
Well, I take everything off, and it's not even close.
All right, and then 25 round 4.
18.
They must really. Steelers must love a certain player.
And then our last two comp picks, 219 and 255.
30%.
And 169, our next comp pick.
The 62.
Right. Offer it.
No.
Oh, all right. 4 attempts. Throw in a 25-7. No, not 25-5.
No, not 5th.
Yeah. And a 6th.
79. I bet this should go through.
Oh.
Wow, that's a lot of picks. I would
throw in 245. Throw in 245.
83. This is your last attempt, Brandon.
All right, throw in next year's first round. It'll guarantee go through.
No, not first. Not first. Throw in next year 5. next year 5, and 202.
This is already likely accepted. If
And,
you,
and 2. All right, yeah, it's fine. That's fine.
sure.
Yep.
Wow.
All right, same deal with the
Eagles. So they wanted Troy Franklin pretty bad, I guess. So same deal. So 88, 91. What was it? I don't remember.
All right, wait, hold on. 88, 91, and then 6 and 7 for next year. 7% chance, and do all of day 3 this year. All right, let's try that.
Who do you want so badly?
What is this? Why would that not go through? All right,
You're 5 picks out.
just resume the draft. I was wanting another second round.
Oh.
You haven't known
Since we're only doing 2 rounds,
yeah,
and we can't draft in the third. Ah, jeez. Show me receivers.
Dolphins with another wide receiver pick at 55.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
The Eagles went back-to-back receivers too in the second round.
That makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Show me O-line.
This is going 1 and 2 in receiver.
Can I see the O-line? Yeah.
Interior offensive or outside offensive tackle, all of it.
All of it.
Okay.
Brennan Coleman's an option.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me see. Secondary.
With the would just wipe these out or keep them on.
Wipe them out.
Ooh,
We're taking Tyler Nubin.
All right. Before the draft ends, I'm going to do my attempt at a trade. Boom.
This is unfair.
All right.
You taking TJ Tampa?
No, I don't know. Actually, I wanted to see what I can get. I was interested in him, but I know I drafted a corner already. But I just like to throw out there that I'm a better GM and a better owner than a Packers owner in our call right now.
You definitely are not. They did not take my trade.
All right. I'm going receiver. We just lost Curtis Samuel to the Bills, and it's either Corley or Baker, and I know I've heard of Baker, and I know I've heard of Corley. And I mean, Bama receivers are always really good too. Actually, you know what?
If you take Walker, you're pairing up a chemistry thing already.
I was already doing that. That's what I was looking at. That's what I'm taking.
All right, analyzing the draft, grading it. Let's see who wins.
Wow, 2 awards, crushed it.
What's the awards? Cooper DeJean. You got an A, D minus, and an A plus, D minus, A. So you're going to overall draft grade of A.
I don't think this is too bad of a draft. Obviously, it's heavy defense, so we know this is likely to be a Packers draft.
Like I said earlier,
it is the Packers' way not to get an offensive player early.
Draft rank percentage, top 10 of Packers drafts, and your awards. I'll have to look at later after I go with this, just in case I lose all of it. You got an overall B plus. B for Thomas, Ricky Pearsall, A.
Yeah.
And then me, a B plus. All right. I mean, I didn't know any of the tackles, so I can say that myself. But Drake May, A plus. Yay. So Rakenstraw, B plus, and D plus for my receivers and my tackle. Top 85% for wide receiver or commander drafts, A and a B plus. I will screenshot these, put them on Twitter and social media in a minute. Awards. Completed your first pod draft. My second
trade accepted.
Oh, so simple stuff. Nothing crazy.
Go to our results again. And go to that 4th image. Yeah, save this and see. Let's see how accurate it is on Thursday.
Yeah, it'll be hard because there's going to be some trades.
The Packers traded up.
I'm saying exactly. Someone's going to trade up for.
The Colts didn't trade down.
Cooper DeJean, and I think we're going to see 4 or 5 trades in the first round on Thursday.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, I believe one of them might include Ayuk.
Ayuk, I think something's going to happen there because he seems to be pretty upset. It would be the Patriots' way to trade down for somebody, Packers to trade down for a defensive player. There's like 4 or 5 players that are hot commodities that should be chased after that. Hopefully, we'll see people do something more with it.
Yeah.
It's more exciting if there's trades. It's boring if it goes all chalk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's always exciting with trades. I mean, it's just like some player, like kind of like off-season cuts, cap space cuts. You never expect this player to be cut, but he's cut, and he's available. Like Justin Simmons, he's still a free agent. He's available, and that might influence, based off of cap stuff, that might influence other picks. Free safeties that could be picked top 10 or whatever that won't be picked until the second round because of that. So it's a very interesting scenario, and it's why the offseason is one of my favorite times in the NFL.
Yeah,
it's not mine personally.
Really? Why not?
Well, I can't watch football, so
well, you got the UFL on. I mean, UFL seems to be pretty exciting. I just want to.
But if you're a Bears fan, this is the time of year where you win the Super Bowl.
Commanders fan too. I mean,
at
least for this year. So we will end things off there. Due to different circumstances that are going on with me and Brandon's life, we will be back sometime next week. We don't know what time. It will be here at the night, just like this, due to our jobs. But we will be back next week to see if our picks align with our team's picks align with our mock draft picks, how our actual mock draft first round does, and anything else that happens, any trades. Maybe Brandon Ayuk actually does get traded, but we'll be back next week. Stay tuned for that.